right, and the Kings are, or more so specifically Sacramento Airport, making things right from the Sacramento Kings side of things. We know that last year was a big year for that partnership in general. Sacramento Airport and the Kings were pretty tied. Tons of commercials that you saw during Kings games, and the connection grows even stronger as in Sacramento's International Airport in Terminal B. You will now find, I believe it looks like, I can't really tell exactly where these are. It might be either just within the terminal, or it kind of looks like it could be near the like the monorail system. It might be. It's a little bit tough. Yeah, a little bit tough to see exactly where this is if you are at the Sacramento. I guess Brendan was actually just at the airport. I could have asked him, but yeah, at the airport now you can see the Sacramento Kings jerseys throughout the years, their looks throughout the years. All the way dating back from 1985 all the way to the jerseys of today. And I think that's a Keegan Murray shooting. I think that is Keegan Murray shooting in today's jersey. And it just brought the question to me. I mean, what is everybody's favorite Kings jersey throughout the year? Throughout the years, that is. I think for me personally, I mean, and I definitely think a lot of people share this. I mean, those early 2000s, I think it's labeled as 94 through 2002, those black and white Kings jerseys as they wore, early C-Web or early J-Will years, I guess, and, throughout the Kings dominant playoff run and all that stuff. Those are the ones that I remember the most fondly. I specifically really, really like the purple, the full purple version of all those. I think it was an alternate that they only wore a couple times. Not a huge fan of the checkerboard, the split down the middle one. It's good. It's a good retro, like throwback jersey, but at the time, I don't think I would have enjoyed it much. And I didn't really enjoy the nuance of it when it got re-released. I did kind of enjoy the Kings went back to that old school font in what I'm trying to see the year that they have it listed as. I think it was 2014 through 2016, where they did go white and purple, but they brought back the old school Kings font, but those teams weren't very good. They only had it for 2 years and then swapped to a more generic, bland, font that they have then again switched from and now are in the cursive font. But I think I'm most friendly with the early 2000s, late 90s Kings jersey. I think that one's my favorite. And of all the alternates they've done, I know I just said this about the split down the middle. I really liked that gradient jersey that they had last year. The purple and black gradient night, funny enough, I know it does have the checkerboarding on the side. I was a really big fan of that one. I'm a little bit hit or miss, funny enough, on another checkerboard jersey, the Sactown one that was kind of a baby. It was black, but it had baby blue writing in it. Kind of gave me a little bit of like a knockoff jersey that you would find at a gas station.
That had
kind
the
of
checker,
vibe. Yeah, it had checkerboard on the side.
They also had the
yeah.
Sactown with the cursive, the kind of retro font.
I love that one. Yeah, it had like the S that kind of looked like a quail. I think
that like gradient one, dude. That one feels like a G League team jersey.
You didn't like it? The one from last year?
I think it's doing too much.
Yeah,
I think it's doing one thing too much. I think it either should be the gradient or just the check. Yeah, I think it's doing too much.
That's very fair.
And it feels like
I could do without the check.
Division II college team, like
I could see where you're getting it. I just hadn't seen it done that well on an NBA. I know the Suns kind of have a version of it that is like taking over the AAU scene now. If you go to any AAU tournament, you'll see some version of like the Valley with
which makes sense because the sunset. Like I think that works with their.
It looks really cool. I think the Jazz did one too.
You went over one. I think the more and more we get away from it, the more and more I like the gray one.
Really?
Yeah.
You like the one that said Sacramento on it from a couple years ago?
Yeah. So I actually met the dude who designed that just totally on accident. I was bragging about my job at this like sports bar. I was just like, oh yeah, I do stuff with the Kings, whatever. And then he's like, oh, I actually made that jersey. And I'm like, really? And he was telling me about the side, how it represents kind of the jagged edges of Golden One Center, and just like he was explaining like detail. If you kind of look at it, you'll kind of see.
Yeah, you'll see it.
But yeah, because the building's gray. It's whatever. That was the first. That was the Beam team.
So do you want to see them go back to it, or is it better off in your opinion as like a one-off?
Long time. Yeah, long time down the line. I also hate they have to do a New Jersey.
Do you want to see the golds?
I think so. I think it's time.
You want to see the gold jerseys back? Did you like them at the time?
No. Not really.
So do you think that you want to bring them back for the meme of it?
Yeah, for the meme, but just like, hey, we did it. It's like there. Yeah, my dad drew the Sabonis, and
Looks
here
so
a long
good,
time
too.
ago drew a Mike Bibby in the gold.
Really?
Yeah. So I guess maybe I have a little nostalgia for it.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's ugly. It's awful. It does look like
terrible.
puke a little bit.
Yeah. It's a bad
similar to that Jaguars color rush color.
Yeah, those were really bad.
But I think you got to do it just for it'll sell.
They have to be real. Like, you can't do it right now. Can we just do the early 2000s retros and just get it out of the way? It's the 40th season here in Sacramento. It was the time in which they were most successful here in Sacramento. Let's just go back to it. We're finally back to being good after a long playoff drought. It's the only jerseys that I think people are like actively clamoring for that we just can't get. I know Mitchell and Ness is already making, they just made Bobby Jackson throwbacks in that jersey. They have the Pejas, the Bibbies. I think they have some Webbers, some J Wills as well.
The checkered J Will.
They have
checkered Mitch.
They have checkered Mitch. Yeah. I know for sure.
One of my favorites though is the 1920 classic. The 2019-2020 classic, the blue with the Kings. It's basically just
I love
original.
those. Yeah, I love those jerseys. They were like an actual blue, not like a baby blue, or I think they call it royal blue.
Yeah,
it's like a royal blue. It's like more of the 80s Kings font. I was a fan of that one as well. I think it's I think they have that listed as the Kings. What is it? 85 through 94 jersey. So yeah, you can go check that out at the Sacramento Terminal B at the airport. Go check that out. And that does bring us to a question, which will probably, who knows how long this is going to take us in terms of getting an actual answer. We want your participation on the Sac Chat, on the text line as well. Kings Mount Rushmore, as Whitey and Drapes make their list of the top 40 Sacramento Kings of all time. Who is it? Because Mount Rushmore, again, isn't just your best players. It is when you think, it's a question that Jay actually asked on the polling of everybody who filled out those brackets. When you think Sacramento Kings, who do you think? Who deserves to be forever immortalized on a Mount Rushmore for the Sacramento Kings? Who deserves to have all of their accomplishments, everything they meant to the team? Who are your representatives? And you can get a little bit squirrely, like I said during the break. Like, maybe it's a little bit symbolic of where the Kings are as a franchise, but I kind of don't think it's crazy to have like Slams. It's a bit embarrassing, but like Slamson kind of representing sixth man and, everything that the crowd means and
or
just
Jerry.
The spirit. Jerry Reynolds, everything he represents for just the history of this team and, everything he's been a part of. Who are the names? Who are the four that you are selecting to be your Kings representation? I mean, to me, Chris Webber's got to be on there. There is no way you can make a legitimate Mount Rushmore not have Webber on there. I would say Mitch as well, but I think that it's not again, if we're throwing everybody's name in there, I think that there could be an argument that he's on the outside looking in.
The thing about Mitch, I'm thinking about as we're going back and forth on this list, I'm arguing with myself in here because I also said Mitch is the most underrated King.
Yeah.
Which is kind of silly to say because he was the number 2 on that all-time Kings list. And it's because I don't want to put him on the Mount Rushmore because I don't think of Kings necessarily when I think of Mitch, but he was also, it's funny to put him next to Webber because he was so critical in building that I almost said dynasty. Yeah. That 01-02 team because he's the piece that was sent to build to get Webber.
Yep, exactly.
So it's really hard. I don't blame anyone who goes either way.
You can't tell the story to that argument. You can't tell the story of the Sacramento Kings without telling the story of Mitch Richmond first, because you have to explain how Mitch pretty much rose the team from ashes to get to relevancy. And Mitch was so good of a player that he could get you a player the talent of one Chris Webber. It's a really, really tough thing to try and figure out exactly levels of importance for something.
I think you need 2 Mount Rushmores, one for players and one for icons. One that's like Sign Lady, Slamson, Jerry,
and G-Man
or Rick Adelman.
Adelman. I mean, and that's why this thing's going to be tough. Much like our playoff list, you got to pick 4. And Rick was obviously the coach, and he definitely deserves a spot unquestionably. But do you want to have players higher than him? I mean, Peja is a little bit quiet in this conversation. Peja was great. Peja is probably, I think, the second closest King to ever winning MVP. I think Webb got close. Peja might have even been closer than Webb ever got to an MVP in that one season.
Did Peja get a title with Dallas?
He got a title. Yeah, he got a title with Dallas.
With Dallas, right? Yeah.
Not that counts for us, obviously,
no,
but
because we're having this conversation with Jay Will last week too.
Right.
About him getting a title with
him getting a title with Miami.
But are you going to reveal yours now, or do we have to wait till the other side of the break?
I still need to think about it.
Okay.
I still need to think about it, something definite. Again, Weber is unquestionably on the list. I want to put Adelman pretty unquestionably on the list. I do think Mitch is right there too, and that's 3.
The guy who puked and got Walton fired.
That guy deserves something.
That guy deserves something.
Maybe like on the
maybe
walk
some Pepto,
to the
ibuprofen,
something. So maybe some ginger ale.
Yeah.
Maybe like on the walk up to Mount Rushmore, you can have like little statues along the way, and Puke guy can definitely.
Dave is on one of those little statues.
Yeah, him eating a brownie for sure. Him up on a ladder, maybe. Yeah, we could figure that part out. Funny enough, we make fun of him, but Dave gets a shout. He gets a shout.
He's in that documentary.
He
leaked that documentary.
Look,
he did. It's a fact.
Allegedly. I'll sprinkle allegedly on there for him.
Oh, I guess allegedly.
Allegedly. But he definitely deserves a shout. I don't know if, no disrespect, I don't know if I'm putting Dave above, guys like Rick Adelman and G-Man and things like that.
You're not.
But I think he deserves an honorable mention. There's a lot of names. There's a lot of names that you can put in there, and frankly, burying the lead a little bit here, but like De'Aaron Fox, there's no way. Especially if you're going to forecast a little bit of the future, I've got a number for you coming up on the other side of the break. That's just going to make it really hard to keep De'Aaron Fox off of this Mount Rushmore, and I'll let you know what that is in about, I don't know, we'll give him 2 minutes, and then I'll give you exactly why I think it's pretty almost impossible to keep De'Aaron Fox off of this Kings Mount Rushmore. We get into that in just a little bit. Stiles and Watkins, Sactown Sports.
Subscribe to Sactown Sports on YouTube and watch the Carmichael